Hospitality has a branding problem. When we hear the word hospitality, we're thinking about either serving food or setting up a room or cleaning a room or making a hotel look professional, look clean, so that the guest is wowed by those factors, by the material things. But it's not. Hospitality is about how you make people feel. You just have that feeling, right? That secret sauce that tells you I need to elevate things to be able to do what I need to do and be successful. The impact that I would make on people by making them feel good about their experience. I noticed that one instance when I saw that gleam of satisfaction, it fulfilled me in a way where money does not. Hospitality people that are passionate about this industry are sociologists and psychologists.
That's true.
Because sociologists is we see what's going around the world, and psychologists is because sometimes you really need to help people who may need you for a reason. Could be business, could be pleasure, could be sadness, could be happiness, and you just have to be prepared for that.
If you rely on AI for everything, it's like a muscle.
Right.
Eventually, you will start losing that muscle because you are not using it. AI is doing everything for you.
You're absolutely correct.
Welcome back to the 80 Show podcast. I'm your host, Altan Demirkaya. This is the space where we explore stories of success, leadership, and transformation in hospitality, education, and beyond. Every episode, I sit down with inspiring professionals behind their journeys. And today's guest is no exception. I have the great honor and pleasure of introducing my speaker for the episode 7, Willy, with an incredible career across global hospitality and academic leadership from California to Canada to Taiwan to Peru. He has shaped programs, he has mentored hundreds and led with purpose. Willy, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Thank you for having me up. It's a pleasure to be here.
Willy, you have built such a powerful reputation in both hospitality, education, and operations. What was one defining moment that shaped your career and your passion for this industry?
Thank you for the question. I started earlier in my college days when I was working in the back of a cafeteria, and I could see the actions that I would make and the impact that I would make on people by making them feel good about their experience. And I noticed that one instant when I saw that um, gleam of satisfaction, it fulfilled in a way where money does not. So quite often when you're at college level, you think, I want to be rich or I want to be financially capable to afford the things that others cannot afford. And we lose the idea of what it is that we are there to do in this world that we all live in. And early I realized that yes, I could probably find a career where I could make a lot of money, but that was not my passion. My passion was to see success in people, see people walk out feeling happy. And I think that was a poignant moment in my life where I recognized that I was in the right industry and I was going to do whatever it took to succeed in this business. And by that, I mean, I wanted to expand my career and do as many things as I could within this industry because I felt that I was in the right place.
And that's great. And based on my experience, really, what I see is in professionals, great leaders like yourself in our industry, I think there is some similarities in terms of what drove us to get into this industry because you like to make people happy, keep people happy, and you actually care about other people and their successes, seeing them happy. I think that tells how much passion you have about hospitality industry. Do you agree that if you don't have the passion about this industry, it's kind of hard to work in this industry or be successful, right?
Yeah, Alton, I think it's very hard. I always students or colleagues, hospitality has a branding problem. You know, when we hear the word hospitality, we're thinking about either serving food or setting up a room or cleaning a room or making a hotel look professional, look clean, so that the guest is wowed by those factors, by the material thing. Not hospitality is about how you make people feel. And so what I tell people is it's very challenging, it's very difficult because we're all chameleons. We're all different. So when you see someone come in who may be upset, or angry or sad, you have to chameleon yourself to what the needs of that client is. So everybody is different on what their needs are and what they want. And what I also say to students is you got to remember that hospitality students and hospitality people that are passionate about this industry are, in true, are sociologists and psychologists.
That's true.
Because sociologists is see what's going around the world, and psychologists is because sometimes you really need to help people who may need you more than just for that cup of coffee or for that clean room. They want to feel good about their lives. They're there for a reason. Could be business, could be pleasure, could be sadness, could be happiness, and you just have to be prepared for that. You had a on your last podcast, Tim Ellison, and Tim works really hard at that work. He is a true professional when it comes to hospitality, but he works hard at it to make sure that he is at his highest level. When you see, no one's asked him to do it, no one's told him that this is what you need to do. You just have that feeling, right? That secret sauce that tells you, I need to elevate things to be able to do what I need to do to be successful. So yes, I would agree with you.
That's amazing, Willy. Thank you so much. And I see the same qualities in you and Tim. I think individuals like yourselves who are passionate about industry, you are always looking for new ways to improve yourself. And we always learn. We learn every day, right? And when you talked about some of the good qualities in a hospitality professional, I definitely agree with you. I think we need to be emotionally intelligent. And I think in hospitality, we are great communicators. We need to understand other people's psychology, feelings, using empathy. It's a lot of work, right? I think Tim was also talking about emotional labor
Yeah.
when we discussed in the last episode. I think it's true. Emotionally, we are actually putting a lot of effort too.
It's draining, right? It's draining because at the end of the day, you're thinking, what did I accomplish today? Why am I so tired? Is because you put a lot of effort and work on the day that you're in, and I don't think a lot of people see it. Hence, the reason why you ask is everybody made for this industry? Maybe, maybe not. I think you can be trained, but you can. People are not going to feel that feeling, right? So
People do like the robots, right?
yeah, exactly. There is a secret sauce that is built on years of experience, of knowledge. You can identify people very easily at the very beginning to see where they're going to navigate in their careers and their life based on their attitude. And that attitude is a very important part that you were mentioning. I think attitude and, as you mentioned earlier, empathy is so pivotal for the success of someone in this industry. I think quite often we talk about the tangible things, right? You hear stories about someone in a hotel saying, "Oh my gosh, I forgot, a clean shirt. I need a shirt for a meeting, a presentation that I'm doing," and then you either hear about a housekeeper or a front desk agent goes rushing down to the laundry room and says, "Hey, I need a 16 and a half, 32-inch shirt for this gentleman who's doing a presentation in 30 minutes." And they go and they find one and they rescue and they take it over to him. And he says, "Thank you so much. You've made my day. I can now feel good about the presentation." But what we don't talk about is that process, the whole entire process. There's this rush of energy that goes to your head,
Exactly.
and because you are solving a challenge in whatever that challenge may be.
Definitely.
And that is that secret sauce that I talk about at hospitality.
You have to really have this passion, right? And this is a great thing that you are talking about, really. And also, while the employee is running downstairs to grab whatever the guest needs, probably she or he may have other things going on in their lives, thinking about it in the background, but they have to make sure themselves 100% to the job to make sure they create a good experience for the guest. It's not easy, right?
No,
It's really emotionally draining.
yeah, you're so right on that. I think quite often it's hard for us to, when you come in and you put on that new uniform, whether it's a jacket or that's, I mean, uniform by the sense of what you're wearing for work. You have to put in the closet not just the clothes that you came in with, but the troubles and challenges that you have at home.
That's it.
And it's a little bit of escape as well, because when you're at work, you're escaping away from challenges are not going to go away. You have a car payment, you have insurance payment, you have your phone payment, your payment plans that's canceled, your computer is not working, whatever the reasons may be. You're putting it to the side for 6, 7, 8 hours a day and focus on something else that substantially. So it's a win-win, right? The customer wins, and you also win because you're giving yourself the time to focus on something else. I'll keep bringing up to Mellison for a reason. When I started early in my career, my dad said to me, "You make sure that you read the newspaper every day." And at first I was like, "Why do I have to read the newspaper every day?" I go, "You need to be informed what's happening in the world today. It's changed dramatically. Now it's all on your phone." Um, but I've adopted the same Turkey. I hear that it was a tremor there. I hope everybody is okay and your family is okay. And you're thinking, this person took the time to remember where I was from. He also took the time to recognize that there was an earthquake today. And he came to me and said, "I hope your family is okay." That is a thoughtful moment that comes to empathy, but it also comes to being informed of what is happening around you and around the world. And quite often now, because of the way the world is in politics, everybody is so focused on only one area. They don't want to talk about other things. I don't think that's a good thing. I think you need to be informed about what is happening around you.
We need to know what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
Everything is changing in every second in the world.
Yeah, we're more informed now. So it's sort of the caliber of knowledge has dramatically improved because you have the tools available to you. I was listening to CEO of NVIDIA.
Yes, the robots.
Yeah, he was talking about because I know you and I've talked a little bit about the powerful impact of AI and how that is affecting our industry and education. We're all afraid of this new technology, new things that happen in our world. I think we just need to be honest with ourselves and recognize these things happen because we created them and we invented them. How we use those tools is really up to us. And there are industries that are built around them.
So speaking of AI, let's go into AI then, really.
Of course.
So, do you think AI tools like ChatGPT making education easier or more challenging for students?
So I'll share with you what I shared earlier with your colleagues about what I think that is the challenge is to me that we will not be able to articulate things or be able to write in the way that we want to write or have our thoughts put to paper. If AI is doing all the work for you, where are you where are you inserting your knowledge and your understanding of things. So I think it's a great tool for us to use. I think we just need to navigate through it as we see the changes, but it's dramatically changing our industry and it's dramatically changing education. And your question was about, is it great for education? I said absolutely. I think it's incredibly important for education because what it will allow is for students to rapidly be able to access this tool, to be able to understand what is the knowledge that is available to you, as long as they're doing the work. They're learning from it and they're appreciating from it. I was talking to an English professor last month about AI, and what I was telling him is what it's going to happen is now students are going to have to become more astute at asking the right questions. Because right now they don't ask the right questions. And if you want AI to answer the questions for you, you have to ask the right question.
And you need to educate the AI too.
Correct. So you need to educate AI on. So, for example, it's what is the population of Vancouver? You can ask AI, what is the population of Vancouver? Now, did you specify? Are you talking about Metro Vancouver? Are you talking about downtown? Are you talking about the east side? Are you talking about Kitsilano? Are you talking a different area? So those are the questions that you're going to be starting to probe for uh, students in your class or on marketing technology. If you're looking at targeting a market audience to your product, you need to know where your audience is. If you're trying to target ages 20 to 25, does it make sense for you to say what is the population in Vancouver, or does it mean tell me about the age. Where do 20 to 25 old men and women, single men and women live in Vancouver? Maybe the right question for AI.
Right.
That may be able to help them direct their tools to where they need to network or communicate, right? So I find that it's that part of technology is very important for AI, but the students, the person still has to use the brain to communicate.
I think what you're saying is also about us being in charge of AI other than AI being in charge of us.
Exactly.
I think students need to pay attention to that too. If we ask AI, if you rely on AI for everything,
Right.
okay, can you please help me with this assignment? Can you please do this for me? It becomes, I think, it's like a muscle.
Right.
Eventually, you will start losing that muscle because you are not using it. AI is doing everything for you.
You're absolutely correct.
Based on my experience, I think.
And your brain has that muscle component of it, right? You're forcing your brain to think about things. Is it important that you got the assignment done, or is it important that you got the assignment done with the help of AI,
Right.
or is it important that you learn something from using the tools of AI to use your brain to make that assignment even better? You know, I think educators also need to think that. Because they look at AI as even well, is it plagiarism? Is it academic integrity? Are we dealing with that? No, you want the student to use the tools that are available to them, but have them explain how they used it and how they came up with the answer. And that should be, if I was an instructor,
Exactly.
I'd say, wow, this is clever. Because the rest of the world has already moved on with AI. They're using it. So if you are an impediment to the students to use those tools, then are you a good educator that is preparing your students for the future?
Right.
Or not?
And we cannot force students in education, right? They should be willing to do things anyways. We cannot just say AI is not allowed. But as you said, I agree with you, Willy. We need to explain to students how they can use some of the best practices to use AI, I think, because it's great for RD, research and development. I use it a lot for that purpose to brainstorm ideas, and it speed up things so fast for us. And it's really great.
Yeah, it works. What I have found it too as well is that when you have the students engage in this, that we're all part of the solution. We're trying to create things, and I think for a lot of educators, they went from writing on the whiteboard, so it was a one-way education. The instructor wrote what they believed to be the truth on the board, and the student listened to that, and they believed that what the instructor was teaching them was the correct way of things. Then they moved from the whiteboard to the LCD projector, where you actually projected the sheet and you wrote on the sheet and you reflected it. But it's still one-way education.
Right.
And then we moved into PowerPoint slides, and it was still one-way education because the students were listening to what the instructor was teaching them. Instructors have to also shift to recognize that we're now facilitators. We're facilitating the student for the student learning. We cannot have them learn from, we cannot be a one-way communication. It's got to be a mutual collaboration because the workforce is like that. When you go work in a company, a boss may tell you, hey, I need you to work on this and get this done. How you get it done? I don't care. So what most workers will say is like, okay, I gotta do this on my own. No, I'm going to call the experts. I know that Alton is an expert on this. I'm gonna text him. I'm gonna send him a Teams message. Hey, Alton, I know you're an expert on this. What do you think is the answer for this? Oh, I think this would be the right answer. So that student has used that plus AI to come up with the answers for their boss, right? So they used all their tools that was available to them, not just one tool.
I agree, and there are some great takeaways about what you said, Willy. And for instructors, as you said, I think this is a great opportunity for all instructors to change change the way we think.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be one way, as you said, and I think it's important to have interactive classes too. And also, just like consumers, students have an access to everything. They could challenge you. I mean, your knowledge too, and they have an access to everything you are saying, anyways. So we need to really make the education learning experience more engaging and in a way that it really works for students.
Exactly. For students. And it'll be a shift. Everybody will have to it's a paradigm shift. Educators will have to make a shift on how they teach and learn about how it is that they need to approach things. And it's a paradigm shift for students as well, so that they learn, recognize that they're no longer students that are paying a fee to have somebody tell them what to do, but they're more engaged into finding a solution to whatever the question or the challenges may be. For me, AI is one of the probably greatest tools of this generation that is hopefully going to help solve a lot of the challenges that we see in the world. You know?
It makes things so fast.
Yes.
For instance, we are currently developing a home podcast studio. So what I did was I took a picture of the current setup and I said, this is what I would like to add. I would like to add a curtain. I would like to add these tools in this room. And I was very specific about the colors, the shape. I even uploaded the shape of the things that I want to bring in the studio. And then I asked ChatGPT to design it for me. And it was perfect. It designed it in a way that I really wanted.
But it was a collaboration.
Exactly.
It was your collaboration from what your thoughts are and what your idea is of beautiful,
Exactly.
and what AI took that information and put it in.
And two ways, like a discussion. And I say, I didn't like the shape of the pillow. What do you think? Do you think this is too overwhelming? Okay, let's change this shape. You are right. It's AI says, right? So it's, I think, two way. If I was relying on everything AI say, I will be probably like.
Well, and you can say to AI, look, I don't like the color of this pillow or the shape of this pillow, and they will, rather than be offended, which it would happen if you're dealing with another person.
Sure.
AI may say, okay, Alton, let's look at this color and this side of pillow. And then you can say, you know what? I was wrong. You were right. Let's go back to the original one and keep that in there. But you tried it. You have more chances of trying things and eliminating what's not working versus just settling for something that you may not be quite happy with.
And I think that's a great exercise for people to develop their emotional intelligence too, because when you type AI, the way AI responds to you is actually very emotionally intelligent. Okay, you have done a great job so far. Let's work on this. It's motivating you, right? I think that's how we should be that's how we are true hospitality professionals anyways. But we want to see that in our team members. We want to see that in our day-to-day interactions with every single people we talk to, right? I think AI can teach people can practice their emotional intelligence.
Oh yeah, they can. I mean, I think you can. I'm going back to your last guest. Tim Ellison. I invited him to do a presentation on our behalf because we were creating a video for students to learn certain areas of the hospitality industry. And my message to the group of people that I say is, because you're an expert, you're a professional, just show up to the day of the event. We're going to ask you a few questions and we're going to answer. Tim came prepared with no cards. He never used them, but he had them right there by his hand, right there. He had done his homework. He wanted that to be. He wanted it to be the most professional presentation that he could provide. I learned from him on that. I said, I need to do that more often. It's old school because you're writing notes, but when you write something on, yeah, a little note cards, it goes, exactly that, and allows you to be able to fix. The students today don't use that. They think, oh, that's all old school. I type my notes.
Me too, actually. I do that a lot.
Exactly. That may be great, but you're doing the same thing because you're preparing yourself for whatever that question may be or that challenge may be for the day.
So being prepared is important, right? I think
Correct.
also you talked about having good business ethics, being prepared, taking something seriously too. I think once we do that, we automatically push ourselves to give the 100% to what we do, and that's great.
Yeah. No, I mean I think on every your first question was what triggered you. I think it's a lot of the mentors and people in my life too that influence you, right? I think I mentioned to you about my dad. My dad always said, just remember that you are representing the family when you are doing things, and your actions have, repercussions, right? So
Right.
I like that because he wanted me to think about what I do and how I do things and how that can have an impact and effect on things. I've done a lot of things wrong too. I'm not perfect, but none of us are. But I learn from that. I always go back to that first message.
And I want to go back to what you said earlier, really. Attitude. Um, I'm really big on that too. I strongly believe that attitude is really the most important thing, even during job interviews. And people who have that charm, who have good attitude, we love to talk to those people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not that you are my speaker. I really enjoy talking to you right now, even though we were recording or not. I think we like to see these people. We like to talk to these people in our day-to-day lives. But I think people really need to work on their emotional intelligence, and I see that during a lot of my interactions with people in hospitality industry too. When I go out to these restaurants, and you can tell when you're an expert, the way they talk to you, the tone, the body language, facial expressions really tells if someone is enjoying what they do, or they really talk to you sincerely or not. And determination, maybe. I think that started happening to me lately a little bit.
Yeah.
That because for our entire life in the hospitality industry, we work hard to provide the best experience to people, which means, as you said, we are psychologists, we have all those skills. But in my personal life, sometimes, not sometimes, let's say as a customer, I want to be also I want to have a good experience, right? And then when you walk into these places, when you have other experiences, you question sometimes, okay, this was not that difficult. You could just say hi to me. You could just be sincere about how you talk to me, right? You could just care a little bit more about and then in my brain, I'm like, should I remind her that I'm just a customer? But no, right? Do you have that?
Yeah, my wife reminds me often that I have to be very careful because sometimes I wear my disappointment on my face. So I'm always very careful that I am not judging people in an environment. But I find it quite often that I see situations where a person could be better at certain things, and I just take it back home with me. I take it back home, and I'll think and ponder on how to be able to address that. Because people sometimes get offended by how you approach, but I learn from it. I learn of what somebody does well and appreciate for what they do, and learn from somebody who struggles doing things, and how to be more empathetic, maybe, and patient. That not everybody is uh, built the same way or created the same way. I do. I have learned through, fortunately, through the aging process, is to recognize that when I go out to a dinner or a lunch or an event, um, I need to focus on the person who I'm there with, or the person who I'm here to visit, and less on the challenges. So if at dinner I go there and the food is not to my satisfaction, I have to remember that I'm not just there for the food. I'm there for the company and the ambience, and it wouldn't be fair for me to show my dissatisfaction and make my guest feel uncomfortable at the same time. But it kills me because I want to fix things.
You deserve it
Right.
because you are patient and you use empathy. You are nice, probably, and you use all your skills 23 hours a day. Maybe you just, for the 1 hour, you just want to relax.
That's right.
And not maybe use any of those skills, just relax and
Yeah.
enjoy your meal, right? And I think it becomes a little bit more challenging and challenging. I don't know if it's about, we also know that we are having some challenges to find qualified workers.
Yes.
I don't know if because of that, but I started seeing a lot lately.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because I was thinking about that. It's hard to make a waiter or waitress, wait person understand um, that the communication time that you spend with a person at that table is their time and your time. And time is very valuable. It should be, it's worth a lot. And if you can make that experience something special, look how much satisfaction you will gain from that. And I think partly is because restaurants, hotels are so desperate for help that they're just hiring the first person that comes through the door and looks professional, They think that that person is going to be successful at that position or that job, and that's not necessarily the case. You still have to spend time training them, nurturing them, allowing them to understand what it means to be a good hospitable person, right? Um, I learned this also earlier in my career that from one of my old bosses says, we're no hoteliers, we're innkeepers. And that's always stuck with me in my mind. And I've continued to use that even to today. I'm an innkeeper. Um, where I work now, where I teach now, um, I'm a, it is important for me to take care of the place that I work in, and that includes the people in it, the building, the infrastructure. And so, quite often, and you probably have that from your experience in hotels, you walk through the lobby and you see a piece of paper, you pick it up. A chair is pulled out, you're putting all the chairs together. People will look at you funny because thinking, what is he doing? But it's part of your hospitality mechanism. You're an innkeeper. You're keeping the inn clean, sharp, organized, because you want others to walk in there saying, "Wow, this is a beautiful place. It's so nicely clean."
Philly, do you think the name and reputation of a school plays an important role in a hiring process?
Thank you for that question. So, here's my thought. There is a component that the name or the brand has a recognition because of the training that has been created and developed under the umbrella of that institution. Um, if you're using UBC as an example, how they've been able to lead as a university is because their educators are highly trained in a specific area. And many of them will have a PhD in a specific area that they teach. That makes them not only experts on it, but world class experts. They are not necessarily good teachers. Um, VCC, where I work, we train people to work on the workforce immediately. We're known to be an institution where you train. So we are not as focused on the academic accolades of the individual, but more of the experience and success of those who are teaching the courses that they're teaching. So you may not have been published or you may not have had a PhD, but it's necessary that you have industry experience and in some cases 10 to 15 years of experience in the industry. I didn't get started at VCC from the very beginning of my career. I worked at a small private colleges before I went into the institution that I'm in. They hired me because I was bringing knowledge and experience. But I also learned that knowledge and experience teaching at the small private colleges because I felt that I could make an impact on the students in those private colleges that you talk about, private institutions. Private institutions have a role to play in this world today, but it has to be from the two parties that have to be engaged in it. You have to have an instructor who's passionate about teaching, and you're going to have a student who's passionate about learning.
I agree.
And when they finish that program, not everybody of the 15 or 20 students who you're teaching here, you are hopeful that three, four, or five of them are going to do very well in their careers because they wanted to be here and they wanted to learn from you.
I agree.
So I think that's what the challenge has been, and what we're seeing, and probably a question that is more directed to the government is that the government made a decision to eliminate or close some of the programs based on for the postgraduate work permit, which created a lot of anxiety and angst among students that were finishing the program. Colleges had to pivot and create either new programs or eliminate some programs, and some of them have lost a number of students possibilities because of the visa requirements. There were definitely some bad actors who were doing damage to the education system. It cannot all be blamed on private institutions or public institutions. it could be the general way that the government had designed the visa requirements that everybody fell in line to accommodate those needs.
System-wide challenges and issues, right? As opposed to, as you said, putting everything on the institutions.
Correct. Are there, again, bad actors? Of course, there are bad actors, but there's also great actors. There's great, instructors. There are great colleges who are here. Yes, they're for profit. They need to make a profit in order for them to be able to market their program, to bring a new technology to the classroom, to pay for their lease. It's not cheap to run a school in Vancouver, but I think it's very important to recognize that it goes down to, is that student satisfied if they get a good education, and are you empowering them to be successful in the world? I think that's what counts.
Thank you, Willy. And you have a couple of hundred students under your leadership, right, Willy?
Yes.
Couple of hundred. So, and you have been in hospitality education and education in general for a very long time. To be specific, based on your experience, do you really think, well, I know it makes a difference, right? Being graduated from these institutions, of course, but is that everything, do you think, to get hired? I mean, can a college student who is really passionate and has good attitude and smart and it has got everything they need, do you think they can still be successful?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's that secret sauce that you and I've talked about. The drive has to come from the person that you cannot. We also, and I think you're doing this, and the courses that you're teaching, in particular the one that you're preparing the students for, interview process, and how to succeed in interviews. Exactly. Exactly. How do you say, how this is who I am, this is what I want to do. Quite often we don't teach students to say, look, I am really passionate about this and I really want the job. An employer would be impressed if you say, what, you want this job? Because this is what I want to do, and I may struggle with it at first, but I promise you that I will give it 110%. I will hire that person because they have told me, they have articulated what their passion is and what their focus is and what they want to do with their career. When I hear students say, "Oh, I've sent 100 resumes and nobody responded," or "I've went to 2 or 3 interviews and I didn't get the job." Okay, so let's look back and see what happened. First of all, sending 100 resumes doesn't mean that somebody's going to call you. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to do some legwork. You may have to go to that institution, go to that place. You have to put a little bit more than just sending a resume from your laptop. It's not.
Could we say they need to also go out of their comfort?
Of course, you have to go. You have to look into where the places where they're hiring are. Means you have to dress up for a day and go to the convention center. So you have to make a choice. Either do I go to the beach today or do I go to the convention center where I sit and present myself and interview for a job? What are your priorities? And then you may not see any success from it, but you're planting the seeds for the future.
And also they are making a difference by probably over 90% because majority of the people, they don't do this, right? And then
Right.
by doing this, you're already making a difference. And the chances that they will meet people like you is very high by going out to those institutions and places. Otherwise, how can you meet someone by just applying on those websites and they don't know you, they don't know how great you are?
That's right. They're not going to know you until you're doing the work. You and I talked earlier about how, again, teaching some of the skills that students sometimes do not have. I was going back to my career. I have never forgotten my first job interview. I didn't get the job. It was with Procter and Gamble, and I remember the interview as clear as if it was yesterday. I remember what the lady that interviewed me was wearing. I remember the gentleman in the room was wearing. I remember the room where I interviewed. This was, and I'm aging myself, but this was in 1986 that I had my first interview in June on a 11 o'clock in the morning. I have never forgotten because I got rejected from that job. I went home and I said, never again. I need to be more prepared because the questions that they asked me, I had no answers for them. So I prepared myself, I trained myself, I worked on myself. My parents had sent me for graduation, they had sent me a check. It says, here's, for buy yourself something nice. I went and bought myself my one suit. And I said, I'm gonna wear this suit. This will be my first nice suit. It cost me $100. I had my nice suit. I had a nice dress shirt. I had two shirts. One I would wash, iron it, let it hang. The other one I put on with a nice tie, and I would go to the interview, and it empowered me. I knew that if I was dressed professionally and I looked professional, I was gonna walk through those doors, and I was gonna feel stronger about. I ended up getting the second job. It worked, but I learned from that lesson as opposed to what I see some students do today, or they say, well, I didn't get the interview. Well, I have three more interviews this week. I'll get one of them. Did you learn something from that first interview? Why you didn't get it? I think that's the challenge that I see. And why I'm glad that you're teaching that, because all those little tiny things are really, really important. And I mean, I know how you dress. I know how your attire is, how important that is to you. Every week I look at my dress shoes. I make sure that I shine my own shoes. I literally take the shoe polish, shine my shoes. I want to make sure that they look nice and professional, and I have them ready to go. It's somebody may not notice, right? They're not my $200 Adidas. They're my dress shoes that I have. But it was important for me to have those shoes there and for me to actually shine them myself, because it's important for me to recognize that those little details is going to empower you when you go to that interview, when you talk to that person who needs something.
And these are great things. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we have similar. I mean, I also do similar things, and probably Tim is doing the similar things.
Yeah.
So probably there is some. I mean, there is a reason why we are like this, or we want to be like this, right?
Yeah.
Because we care about how we look, and everything you do. I think little things are making big difference, and it's part of your personal brand.
Yeah.
Right. And when you talked about the jacket, Willy, I have a also story. When I first moved to Canada 11 years ago, my goal was just to stay 6 months to improve my English. But just in case, I put one pair of suit, because I know me, I was really forcing myself to not work since I was at a very early age. So I was like, I will probably see an event and I will go and I will need this suit. And I got my first job at a hotel, and I ended up wearing that suit for months. And it just really helped me. And I worn it for my first job interview too. So I think thinking about future and showing up with a purpose really important.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have a value village. I didn't have, a winners, back in those days where you can buy a shirt for very, very, very cheap. So for me, I recognize, if I'm going to wear this shirt today, I need to wash it tonight and get it ready for the next 2 days.
Right.
You start to plan things and prepare for things and organize your thing. People on the outside think, "Oh my God, look how easy it looks for it must be not. It must be nice. He must have 10 suits. Must have 20 shirts. Must have 20 ties." No,
Right.
it's not. It's
I
just
know.
how way you clean or you
He
organize.
must be
it.
very wealthy.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a
Right?
Rolls Royce outside.
That's right. But you just it's how you project your image. What you said earlier is your brand. Your brand should be one of the most important things in developing, and that it starts with you getting up in the morning and making your bed. I make my bed every day. Part of the hotel side of me, but I want everything to be perfect. So when I go home at night, I want to be able to go and say, "This is my sanctuary." I can take my suit, put my pajamas on, and go to bed, right? But it's in a clean bed that was clean and made. You organize your life a certain way so that you can perform better for the day.
Some things that stick with us from hospitality, right?
Yeah.
Years ago, I mean, probably 15 years ago, my mom was expecting some guests to our place back in Turkey. This is 15 years ago. And anyway, she's very good at designing the table, setting up the table. Everything looked perfect. And she was still trying to find something to improve. I was like, Mom, give me some napkins. And I can't remember what I made. I think I made an elephant or something. And I just put it from housekeeping, experiences. And then I put it on the place. And my mom was very impressed, right? And we learn things in hospitality.
Yeah. Yeah, all those little things, and they're they come easy, right? Once
Yeah.
you're trained to that, even now, when I go to Starbucks or a place, first thing I do, my wife will go and sit down. First thing I do, I'll grab a handful of napkins. I find water, I put some water, and I go over there and I'll clean the table. Um, and quite often he says, "Why are you doing that? Somebody will come over and clean it." No, I want to do what I can, because we're going to be sitting at this table. They may or they may not do it.
They may not do it also, yes.
Right? But it's part of my DNA, right? I mean, and I've known before to walk in places and straighten out the chairs. Uh, I do it at grocery stores, when things, the shelves are not very organized.
You do that? Oh,
All the
wow.
labels to make sure they're facing the front. It's just part of that DNA of hospitality. You're trained for this. You didn't have it at the very beginning. You were trained through time and knowledge and learning and good bosses, good leaders, good um, mentors. My mentors. I still keep in touch with my mentor. I don't forget about them. My first mentor ended up being vice president for Fairmont Hotels. He's retired now, but I still keep in touch with him. My second boss was a my second mentor was a general manager for a chain of hotels, and he now travels the world, uh, only visiting. He visits Michelin star rated restaurants. That's what he's doing with his time.
Okay.
He's tasting different
That's
culinary
awesome.
parts. Yeah, but I still keep in touch with him because they were an important part of my development, and you gravitate towards those leaders.
Well, thanks to your mentor for supporting you. That
We were able to meet you.
Yeah, that's right. So it'd be great, grateful to them.
So, Willy, I would like to ask you some rapid fire questions. We do this in every episode. So, what is your to go comfort food?
Sushi,
Sushi. Okay. Your dream vacation destination?
still Machu Picchu.
Machu Picchu in Peru. Nice. So, I know you have experiences in the operation, Willy, and also you're an educator as well, leader in hospitality education. So, would you rather choose to plan a 500 event that has 500 people, could be a wedding, or would you rather choose to teach a workshop full day? Right now.
I've done both.
Yes. Right now,
And-
which one would you choose?
Oh, the workshop.
Workshop?
Absolutely.
You will enjoy that more.
Yes.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Tea?
Yes.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
Coffee. Coffee.
Coffee. Okay. Are you an early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Early bird. Okay. If your career was a book, what would the title be?
If my what was a book?
If your career was
My
a
career
book,
was a book.
what would be the title of that book?
Oh my gosh.
It's a difficult question, actually.
Well, I was gonna say Survivor,
asking
but
me, I was-
it sounds like I've had challenges in my life, but it's not Survivor. I would say it would be more of resilience.
Resilience.
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah.
And
And that would be the title, resilience. How to overcome things looking. I think the reason why is because I think people look at life either, oh, I've had a terrible thing that happened in my life, versus, well, this happened. What can I do to make it better? To improve from it.
what are some of the good qualities that can override someone who went to a reputable school that has a good reputation? So basically, in this case, my question is specifically, we have two candidates. We have one candidate that is graduated from a great school, and we have another candidate.
I think the quite often students that attend to a private institution feel that they are intimidated by someone who went to a UBC or a brand name school. But when you're interviewing people, what you're looking for is how prepared you are. It's about preparedness. How if you've been prepared and you have done your homework and you have all your notes and you have all the things, all the tools that are available, I think you will succeed in how well you prepare. Do you have a portfolio? Um, I'm trying to always think about what would someone from a reputable Ivy League university would have in an interview other than their diploma that they graduated from that, and what can I do to overcome that? To have the person question, maybe we should choose him,
Right?
and if you start looking at things,
How we present yourself will make a difference.
how we prepare, do I have a portfolio? Is my resume on a piece of paper or is it on a folder? Do I have copies for everybody? Would you like additional copies? I did some research on your company and this is what I have found. And I've highlighted the things that I think are important why your company is so successful. To make the person interviewing you feel proud of where they work and knowing that you will be a contributor to that. I think that's a lot of it that has to do with that. So I'm big on prepare, plan, organize yourself, and be ready to display what it is that you're trying to offer, and that includes presentation. Would it be okay for me to do a PowerPoint presentation? Would it be for me to do a slides? Can I do an idea about what questions would you be asking in an interview about? Well, we just want to know what you think about our brand, so maybe do a brand strategy. This is what I think your brand is. I think these are your competitors, and this is what you can do to succeed against the competitors. Anybody would be blown away. They didn't ask you to do that. You just did it upon yourself. So that's why I think it's important to meet to
Great
overcome.
insights.
Yeah, overcome those who may have all the accolades and Ivy League.
Thank you.
Willy, thank you so much for taking the time to join the Edishow podcast. I really appreciate your time, and I'm really looking forward to receive feedback from our viewers because this was very insightful, and I truly enjoyed our conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Alton, and congratulations to you. I have to say, I'm very impressed with the ideas you're creating and the impact that you're making in this great industry. And this is one of the ways where you're contributing to the student success, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Willy.